Yo, what is good, NYU? We are super excited to bring you the official NYU Athletics podcast. This is the Silence Behind the Violets. So what is this podcast going to be about? We're going to be talking a lot about anything and everything that is NYU Athletics. We'll be reviewing and previewing the events that are surrounding that week's episode. So we'll be recapping. We'll also be looking ahead, maybe with some predictions. And then we'll definitely be talking with a lot of guests. So those guests are going to consist of the student athletes, staff, coaches themselves, and anyone really that's part of the NYU community, and talking about, again, Violet Athletics. So I'm Kyle. I'm the new media manager, and I'm here with my boy Kai. I'm going to let him introduce himself.
Yeah, what's up, everybody? I'm Kai, the assistant athletic communications manager. You probably see me on the sidelines at the scorers tables of some of our home games. Super excited to be here with Kyle, my guy. We're going to have a lot of fun, really just trying to shed some more light on our NYU athletics community and bring some of these stories to life. So really,
yeah, 100%. I mean, I think that this is something that we really wanted to get off the ground, because we think that there are some really cool graphics that we've put out, some really cool video interviews that we've put out, but some of those stories that you all have are ones that would loan themselves better on the medium of a podcast, which is a little bit longer form, a little bit deeper storytelling. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and get this launch started with really the pilot episode. We're going to be doing a little bit of a fall sports wrap up. It was only a couple of weeks ago that all of the fall sports truly concluded. I was there in Michigan when it did, and it was really cold. That was with the cross country teams. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started. Kai, women's volleyball. Let's do it.
Women's volleyball, a historic season. When you talk about the great teams in this program, the 2022 Violets are absolutely up there. First off, Final Four. First Final Four appearance since 2004. A huge run for NYU. Won the UAA regular season title for the second straight year. Fell in the UAA tournament to Emory, but ended up being the last UAA team standing in the NCAAs. So
yep.
Really showed their worth there. The list of accolades goes on and on. We could spend a whole episode talking about that. But 3 All-Americans, Haley Holtz, one of the stars of the team, first team All-American. Lindsey Hirano, probably already the best libero in program history, second team All-American.
For sure.
And then Leela Anvikar with a huge breakout season this year at the net as a middle blocker on the third team. And then, of course, our good friend Andrew Brown, Region 4 Coach of the Year. Shout out to Andrew Brown. He's building a great program. Had our hand on all over the UAA teams. And just a fantastic season for the program. And really kind of the build-up to that, the crux of it was Coach Andrew Brown building a gauntlet of a non-conference schedule, welcoming in ranked teams for 2 big events during the season, but firstly, starting off on the West Coast in LA, taking on some high-quality programs, including Claremont Mudd Scripps, who was ranked number 1 for much of the season. And then bringing in a lot of ranked teams for the NYU Showdown. Number 8, Calvin University at the time. Number 19, MIT. Number 9, Wisconsin Whitewater. Probably some of the most ranked teams in one building at once in NCAA D3 volleyball this year. And then the UAA round robin. NYU ran through it for the most part, a 6-1 league record there. Like I said, and then hosted the UAA championship here in Brooklyn, brought it back to Brooklyn after about 7 years. And of course, ended up falling to Emory in the semifinals, claimed 3rd place, and then locked in for the tournament. A great NCAA tournament run, sweeping Westfield State in the first round. Got Salisbury University's very best, a 5-set win there. And then Williams College in the regional final, which had upset host Wesleyan Connecticut University. So that's kind of the nature of the NCAAs. You never know what can happen in those opening rounds. Kind of paved the way for the Violets to head to Pittsburgh. Then took on Transylvania University in the Elite 8, 4-set win, and we can kind of really dub that as the Olivia Lewandowski match.
Facts.
I know all of us back here in New York watching were just in awe of what she was doing. 23 kills, 21 digs, both career highs in that match. Really carried NYU to the Final Four, an all-time match for her. And then met Trinity University, Texas in that Final Four match, a rematch of the Sweet 16 last year. Trinity once again got the best of NYU, but an all-time season and just a really thrilling campaign throughout.
During that NCAA run, because like you write like all the recaps for many of these sports, like during that run, were there any like particular matches, maybe even a specific set where NYU probably looked like the most dominant, and then conversely, like do you remember any where they were like really like on the ropes, but obviously still persevered to get to that Final Four the way that they did?
I mean, The easy answer for most dominant is against Westfield State.
Yeah.
Of course,
First round.
achievement for them to make it to the tournament. Winning the NUMAC, I believe.
MASCAC.
Or the MASCAC, that is.
Yep.
But really a no contest, 3-set sweep for NYU. I mean, the first-ranked team in the region, it made sense that NYU got that draw. So that was easily the most dominant. Most on the ropes, that Salisbury match.
Yeah,
that one was really tough, especially the fourth set. We're up 2-1, dropped it 25-18. Had all of us at home a little nervous. But then Haley Hulse delivered the decisive kill in the fifth, and a close fifth set though, 15-12. So that was teetering. But then, really, I think the turning point of the tournament was in that Final Four match, right? Yeah. NYU won that first set against Trinity, and then just kind of ran out of steam. It seemed like, Trinity just kind of flipped a switch, made a lot of adjustments. Coach Brown's always talking about adjustments. Whenever I talk to him after a match, volleyball comes down to how coaches kind of, tweak their game plan between sets based on what the other team is doing. And Trinity certainly did that and just kind of took it to the Violets in those last 3 sets there.
What were the first set scores of each of those tournament matches? Because I remember that had come up when speaking with Andrew. So Westfield State, you can go ahead and read them out.
25-8 in the first against Westfield.
And then Salisbury.
25-10 in the first against Salisbury. 25 dropped the first set against Williams 25-22, but then came back and won the second 25-16. And then Transylvania, that first set, 25-23. All of those sets against Transylvania, both teams scored over 20 points. And then that first set against Trinity won at 25-21. So really started out each match strong during the tournament run.
I bring it up because I remember talking with Andrew before he left for week 2, before they went to Pittsburgh. I was like, it seems like you guys are just like punching them in the mouth, like you just blitz them as soon as things get going. And he was like, yeah, like that's kind of our problem because we kind of like lose that focus a little bit in the second set. And obviously they were able to bring it back together in that third set onwards. But yeah, I mean, I think there's so much to be said about a team that just like no matter home or away, neutral or not, small gym like Brooklyn's or a big one like where they were at in Pittsburgh, that, they come to play. And I mean, especially for you, like you do this, like I said, like you're sidelined at every single game. Like I stand by this. I don't think any team has more fun playing the way that women's volleyball has playing, because like you can never tell the score, and I feel like that's like the marker of like a pretty good team or a really damn good team, when you can't tell if they're up or down by a lot or a little because they're just having fun out there.
Yeah, they're always like it. No, you're absolutely right about that. I mean, even down to one of my favorite things is watching them sub in for each other.
Yeah.
Like, a player comes in, of course, in volleyball, they kind of have to like hold hands, get waved in or whatever, and just the energy, the smiles, the laughs, in those little moments, even sitting right at the scores table, that's a lot of fun. But no, the energy around that team is just fantastic. It's a really tight-knit group. You mic'd them up a few times this year, and I know there are some awesome moments there too. So one of the most positive teams to be around in NYU athletics for sure.
Yeah, totally agreed on that mic'd up note. And we'll just wrap up women's volleyball's segment for this wrap up here. But yeah, we mic'd up Dami Drust for a practice, and I saw them on Friday night at the women's basketball game and showed them the video that never went out. It never went out because of the subject matter, which we'll keep it there. And then what we did air though was mic'd up with Lindsay Hirano, and it's funny. Like one of my favorite lines was I think it was like Ella Wider, where she was like, "We have to warm up. Like I know you're really famous now, but we have to warm up." And Lindsay was like, "Yo, chill. It's not even like that." So it was funny. It was funny to really just get to know them throughout this year. I mean, they're a really cool group. They're also a really young group, it feels like. And so I know that they're going to be returning a pretty good amount of their core, and it'll be pretty exciting for the years to come.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to women's volleyball. Final Four. Awesome season for Coach Brown and his squad.
Absolutely. And so we'll take it from women's volleyball over to cross country. We'll start with the women first. They made their first team trip to nationals since 2013. I was a senior in high school in 2013. How old were you? I know you're younger than me.
I was a freshman in high school in 2013.
Washed.
Got you beat there.
Yeah, washed. All right, so yeah, women's cross country. They got to make that team trip to nationals again, first time in just under a decade. It was cool for me because this was my first time getting to travel with an NYU team, and so it's always fun to cover a team no matter what. But it's especially fun when it's like the postseason and particularly nationals. I know you got to do it with women's basketball last year on a really good run. We'll be talking about them on this podcast a little bit more. Yep. But for women's cross country, they had a really hot start to the season. They finished in first at the Vassar season opener. They returned to Poughkeepsie the following week, finished in second for the Ron Stanstich Invitational.
Stonich? We'll go with that.
Word.
Stonich.
Yeah, facts. And then they finished in first at the University of Rochester Yellow Jacket Invitational. So first 3 weeks came out just like women's volleyball does, guns blazing. At that Michigan National Championship, Grace Richardson, she is a graduate transfer. She became NYU's first All-American since two Violets earned those honors in that 2013 season. And it was definitely an exciting finish. So for me, it was actually like, I can count on one hand how many cross-country meets I've been to, like, live in person throughout, like, really just this job and at different institutions. And that one was a really, really exciting finish because we knew that the top 40 would be named All-American, and Grace was like literally sitting like 42, 41 for like a large portion of the race, maybe even 45. And so with only 1K to go, Coach Tyler Deck Shipley, he puts it perfectly in this recap here from a couple of weeks ago after that. He goes, Grace was in 41st place with only 1K to go. It was a great finish, and I'm so excited for her to be All-American and All-American. So if you run the Instagram post back, there's one of the slides is a video where she kind of like just emptied the tank, as she said, in the van later that day, where she was like, bro, like I had nothing left, but I just like left it out there on the course. It was a really difficult course. Like they had pre-meet the day before, and there was still mad snow on the ground, and like it's a golf course. It would otherwise be like a really, really beautiful place to run, and it would probably run fast, but there was still a lot of snow out there. But they did some plowing, I mean, to an extent, but it was really hilly. I know Janie Cooper, she like fell pretty bad, but then bopped right back up, and so people were joking about that afterwards. But yeah, some really good stuff from really the women's cross country team. They have a really, really young team as well, and so I mean, for them to be able to change the culture, that's a feature story that we did earlier this year. The way that they did really so quickly and really under Tyler's first real year of coaching, it's pretty encouraging if you're not only on that team but also a supporter of that team.
Absolutely. Talking about young, I mean, rookie Viv Kane, she unfortunately didn't get to race at Nationals due to injury, but an amazing season for her. She has the two best 6K times in program history as a freshman. Yeah. Also the best 3K time in program history, and she's up there in the other distances as well. But really, like you said, Tyler's first year coaching where he had some time to prepare, and his first recruiting class. Yeah. And a star-studded one for sure. So they were a lot of fun this year, and again, a fantastic season for women's cross country. Yeah, definitely. Really, to just put a bow on women's cross country before we get into the men's side, it was their highest national ranking this year. They got as high as 20, is that right? Since 2014 when they were ranked number 9 in the country. So definitely a really good season, a lot to be proud of there, and we're really looking forward to hopefully some more trips that aren't to East Lansing, Michigan. Right. Strictly why
the weather.
NCAA has to send them there is
I know.
Question for another
Beyond
day.
us. On the men's side, Ryan Tobin, sophomore, made it back-to-back trips to nationals. He improved by 48 places. He really picked up his pace significantly as that national race went on. He really immensely improved his splits as the race progressed. I know he got out to a little bit of a slower start, but as we were refreshing split by split, it was definitely getting better. So I know he was hard on himself afterwards in that, like, what they want to call a heated tent, but it was still cold. But I mean, that's just somebody that holds himself to a high standard, and you kind of appreciate that, not only from us on the administrative side, but also people that compete, are athletes ourselves as well. So same schedule for the men, of course, to start the season, in which the men finished tied for first at Vassar, second the following week at that same campus, and then they actually won the Rochester Invitational. They have a really young team, 9 freshmen. Again, just as to your point, Tyler's first really ever recruiting class. They have a bunch of characters, I will say myself, in my interactions
group,
for media day. So I'm excited. I mean, cross country, it's a team that honestly has a lot of fun as well. Like we talked about that with women's volleyball, but I think Katie Chang mentioned it in a feature that we did, where she was referring to hey, honestly, last year, again, this isn't even so much to just drag on last year, but she was kind of solo. You remember what she said about that, as opposed to now where she actually has a core that she can run with. So, I mean, that about does it for cross country. So we're through those two. We'll take it over to the pitch for men's and women's soccer.
Over to the pitch. I know everybody's got that soccer fever World Cup season for sure. And both NYU soccer teams with a strong season. We'll start with the men. Made the NCAA tournament again, back-to-back trips, third time in the last 4 years. Coach Kim Wyant kind of really with that sets that standard, a model of consistency, always a quality program, playing in such a tough conference. You never know what's going to happen. And a little bit of history for Kim and the Violets this year as well. So on October 28th, Kim and Chicago's head coach, Julianne Sitch, became the first 2 female head coaches of NCAA men's soccer teams to face off. And it was an all-time match, of course, with the historical significance, a great moment for women in sports, for soccer, for collegiate sports in general, especially on the 50th anniversary of Title IX.
100%.
But also, we became the only team to not only draw, but shut out Chicago all season. Chicago, now the NCAA national champions.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they just won it like 48 hours ago,
Right.
which is pretty cool. And not only did we shut them out, and not only were we the only one to do so and to draw, like you said, we only did it with 10 guys. We only did it with 10 guys because I was at that game, and I think it was like, I mean, I could look back at the box score, but it was like the 20th or 25th minute in which we were given a red card, which, I mean, respectfully, I disagree. But, you know, is what it is. But, yeah, I mean, to do that with just 10 men, I mean, really, really impressive. I know that, you know, obviously you go out there to win, but maybe to not get so much into moral victories. That's something you take.
Mm-hmm.
That's something you take against the number 1 team. So I was speaking with athletic trainer Matt Devins the other day, and he made a really good point about the Final Four teams. So who were the Final Four? It was Williams, obviously Chicago.
Right.
Stevens.
Stevens
Right?
was in there.
And then it was one more team that we played this year. But while Kai pulls that up, that 4th team, the point that Matt Devins made was like, listen, like it goes to show that we were right there.
Right
there.
Mm-hmm.
And like regardless of like record, or rather
Mary Washington.
Mary Washington. Okay, so 3 out of the 4, right? Like we've competed against throughout this entire
year. We play
year.
Stevens every year, local rival. Williams, who we fell to in the first round,
Yes.
2-1 result. I mean, right there with them. That 2-1 can kind of go either way at any time.
For sure.
And then of course drawing Chicago. So it's with soccer, especially on the men's side in the UA, you really never know what's going to happen. I mean, with a 4-1-2 record in the league this year, one other thing goes a different way, and we're right there, top 2. Of course, no one was beating Chicago for the league crown this year,
Sure.
but
What was our final record again? 22-0-1.
22-0-1.
We're the one.
We are the
baby.
one. Shout out Luka Mancuso, NYU keeper.
Yeah, that's
only
right.
keeper to hold them scoreless all season.
Balled, for sure. But speaking of conference play, Archon, he balled out this year.
Archon
Yeah.
Tasseldaroglu, our favorite Turk. Shout out to Archon. Had an amazing season. Co-offensive player of the year in the UAA. Last year, he came in as a sophomore, first year of collegiate play due to the COVID suspension the year before, but balled out. 12 goals last season. Really established himself as a scoring threat. But, I think it's safe to say as a rookie, kind of had a little tunnel vision, really one-on-one player. And then this year, he came into his own as a playmaker.
Yeah.
8 goals, 9 assists, which led the UAA. And also was right up there in the program record books. I think that was tied for the most assists in the season.
It is, yeah. He
history.
tied the single season assist record, and then he also does it in the clutch time. Tied for the second most game-winning goals in a single season. So, ice in his veins.
Ice in his
Archon
veins.
Tasseldaroglu,
Hit his
sure.
20th career goal in his second season. He's really blossoming here as he finishes junior season. We got him back next year, of course, as a senior. Really hoping my man might enroll in grad school and use that extra year of eligibility. We could definitely use him.
We want to see more of that Conor McGregor strut that he'd be doing
exactly.
after goals.
Now the
sure.
Celly's on lock for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Men's soccer as well. I mean, he's not. It's not a one-man show. That's for sure. One of our seniors this year, Alex Rovirosa Ia, Barcelona native. A lot of international presence on this team. He was really a table setter. An assister, tied for the 5th most assists in a season in program history with 7, and he actually has another spot on that list. He had 8 last year. He was a 3rd-team All-Region 4. He was an All-UAA selection. A great season for him as a midfielder. And a lot of great moments for this team this season. They opened the season with a few, lopsided victories against some local teams.
Yep.
Had a little bit of a down stretch where we really didn't know, how it was going to go.
Yeah.
And then UAA play came around and they really flipped the script. I mean, I think that win against Emory in Atlanta was a turning point.
Yeah, I was just going to ask.
That was kind of Archon assisted on 2 goals and then scored the game winner himself. He really kind of had his hands all over that one. And then, of course, the draw against Chicago, which gave the team momentum. And then they beat WashU and Brandeis 3-0 in each of those matches to round out the season.
Yeah, that was a big pair of statement wins for sure.
Really lifted them,
sure.
I think, to get that at-large bid in the tournament. So
Yeah.
a great season for men's soccer. like I said, head coach Kim Wyant making history this year, and really looking forward to see what they do next year as well.
Absolutely. And so, as we talked about on the men's side with the depth of the UAA, it very much is the same exact case on the women's soccer side. So for the women, they logged their 8th straight winning season with a 9-3-5 record, finishing 3-3-1 in the UAA. That's their most association win since 2018. They actually went undefeated through their first 10 matches by drawing against 2 top 10 teams in that span. They tied against TCNJ, who was ranked number 2 at the time, and then Carnegie Mellon, who was number 8 as well. So definitely a lot to be proud of on that side for sure. I know that they were probably they definitely were let down following the selection show and learning that they weren't picked for an at-large bid. However, as far as the season awards go, all Region 4 teams, G made the first team, Wraith and Tate Jordan made it to the second team. And then on the all-UAA side, G was named to the first team, and then Kelly Keedy, shout out. Kelly, you've done a lot of work for this department, so don't think we forgot about you.
We appreciate you, Kelly.
That's facts. Like, I saw you on the women's basketball game on Friday as well. We're going to bring you on the podcast for sure.
No doubt.
And Wraith making the second team for all UAA as well. We have a couple of stats here for G as well, as far as just like what she's done in a single season.
Again, tied for 5th most assists in a single season with 7. And she's been all UAA in all 3 of the seasons of her collegiate career. Of course, missed one due to the COVID suspension, but all UAA. Model of Consistency came in here and really has been one of the faces of this program since she's arrived in New York. So shout out to G for that, and also shout out to Kelly Keedy on that note. A breakout season for her.
Yeah, she balled.
Came out guns blazing, just scoring goals. You know, you saw the potential last year. She had some great moments, but this year really put it together and became one of the team's best finishers. That's
you feel like she was just more aggressive this year? Like, obviously, so. There are adjustments you make from freshman to sophomore season or like first to second season. But like she just seemed like she was just like, yo, like I'm going for it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
and
just more often.
A year older, but I think, and even speaking to her a little bit, the team, the kind of the mindset and the way the team gelled this year, I think was a lot different. So that's another thing, is just feeling that support out on the pitch and kind of having a better sense of where everyone is just sets up better chances to score. But yeah, definitely more aggressive. Watching her play, a lot more aggressive, and it paid off for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So they ended their season on a 4-game winning streak, and there was one like really lopsided win in that last 4 games. But overall, they outscored opponents 15-3. So pretty good job on that front. But yeah, women's soccer, really good season. G, who we were mentioning before, she's not only the face of consistency, as you mentioned, but she's also the face of mic'd up and Taylor Swift fandom. She brought that up during her mic'd up and when talking about some others, rather talking with others on the team before a match. So that was a fun mic'd up. We enjoyed doing that one, as spontaneous as it was. So that does it for the soccers, both men and the women. We'll talk tennis and we'll talk golf. So we will preface this following segment by saying that their seasons will continue in the spring, but we wanted to discuss the work that they've put into this point as of this past fall. So let's start with golf.
Yeah, the golf teams, the men with a strong fall season despite losing three of the 5 of their NCAA lineup last year. Joey Burleson, Robbie Keys, and Chris Lee were exceptional golfers. Of course, kind of led them to a strong finish at nationals last year. Now 8 of the 11 on the roster are underclassmen. So head coach Katie Rudolph working with a young group. The highlight of the fall, a 3rd place finish at the Farmingdale Invitational, and then a pair of golfers with some Liberty League honors. Ethan Yang with a Rookie of the Week award in there, so kind of showing some promise for these underclassmen. And then Charles Hussein, one of the seniors, landed on the Liberty League's weekly awards as well. So kind of just, it's the preseason really for golf here in the fall. Kind of get back into the flow of things before it really ramps up in the spring.
Yeah. On that note about the preseason, apparently the roasting is in mid-season form because I asked, what's his name? Gretzky. What's the first name? Tristan Gretzky. Yep. I was like, who would the worst roommate be on the team? And he prefaced with saying that he loves Tony, but that it'd probably be Tony. So make of that what you will. As for the women, who were also really fun at Media Day, appreciate you and bringing the energy. And also, if you're like by the time this time airs, if you're a winter or spring student athlete, like bring the energy to Media Day, because that's like kind of our only touch point that we have with you, like face to face throughout the year. We can change that by making sure that we we have some good content for the rest of your season. Anyways, so for the women, they were ranked, or rather, they are ranked 20th in the country. They finished in top 2 of 3 straight tournaments, those being the NYU Invitational, the Williams Invitational, and then both of which they won. And then they finished second at Middlebury. They have 3, according to GolfStat, in the top 100 individual rankings. You have Tia Chowdhury at 70, Camila Chung at 86, and Stephanie Sue sneaking in there. Stephanie. 100. So it counts, though. It's all for the headline. 3 in the top 100. So definitely a really, really strong start to the season there.
And, I mean, yeah, that just goes to show, again, another young group on that side with the women. But that goes to show Coach Rudolph and her recruiting skills. I mean, last year, Aaliyah Clark was the star of the show. She came into NYU for the spring semester as a graduate student, had a little bit of eligibility left for golf, and showed out for the Violets. She was in first place at Nationals. I swear it felt like the whole thing. It felt like the whole tournament following along, and then didn't win the whole thing, but was in the top 5. A fantastic showing for her. But Camilla has been a consistent face in the program for a few years now, but Stephanie Sue and Tia Chowdhury, rookies.
Yeah.
So that goes to show, they have a lot of promise, and the spring semester will be a fun one for women's golf.
Yeah, I felt like every other week Tia was just bringing home a Liberty League honor of some
tough
sort.
Tough to keep track of.
I know. So it's going to be good. It's going to be good. They're definitely going to give us a lot to cover, which we appreciate. I mean, there are some schools, because Kai and I are, very familiar with the D3 space, that, they're not as successful as NYU, obviously. And so, it kind of makes the job kind of rough because, it's easy to cover the success for us. And, obviously, yes, we do want to share your stories as well. But, when you're winning and I get to, make the flamethrower captions that I do, it makes things a lot more fun, especially for Kai.
That's a caption god.
Especially for Kai, when he pulls up to do stats and stuff like that, just knowing that, there's that confidence not only for the people in uniform themselves, but also, the people that are working the games, that, we just know we're going to steamroll an opponent in whatever sport. It makes coming to work a little bit more fun.
We feel that energy too. We're not just showing up, putting the hours in and working our job. We're a part of this, and we're just as much on your team, as anyone else, and really pulling for you guys. And we feel that too. We are some of the biggest NYU fans in the house.
That's right, for sure. So as far as another team, as we mentioned, that will have their season. It got underway in the fall, but it'll continue in the spring, like golf, is tennis. So on the men's side, Alex Yang advanced to the round of 16 at the ITA Regionals. And just like the theme has kind of been going throughout this season, this fall review, there's a lot of young teams, but, I mean, it doesn't mean that they're unsuccessful. It just means that they have a really, really bright future ahead as far as the core that they're establishing. So with that said, on the men's tennis side, 12 of the 18 on the roster are underclassmen. Obviously, they gained some pretty good experience this past fall. They're going to get their season back underway in Pennsylvania. They're going up against Swarthmore. And how do you pronounce that? Is that Haverford? Haverford. Yeah. Some people say hard A is what it is. February 24th and 25th as for when the men get back underway. On the women's side, really, really successful turn for the women there. We have a returner in Dakota, and then we have Ida Kraus as well. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about how they did at ITA Regionals.
Yeah, continues the streak of NYU women's tennis success at ITA. So ITA Regionals, first off, the ITA tournament really is kind of the big fall championship for collegiate tennis. Of course, the NCAA puts on their nationals in the spring, but the ITA holds it down in the fall. So they hold regionals throughout the country, and the winners and runners-up from each of those regionals convene down in Georgia for the ITA Cup. So Ida and Dakota won the Northeast Regional in doubles, and then Ida defeated Dakota in the singles title match in the Northeast, just as Dakota had done the year before. So they both went down to Georgia to compete in the ITA Cup. Didn't fare as well as Dakota and one of her former teammates did last year down there, winning the national title in doubles, but both secured All-America status, advanced far enough for that. And Dakota's now a four-time All-American as a sophomore. It's pretty dope.
After 3 semesters.
It's pretty dope.
Yeah,
Shout out to Dakota.
I know.
Ida Kraus, a Division I transfer, coming to us from the University of Wyoming via Denmark. So shout out to Ida. She is ranked number 4 in Division III in singles after that performance at ITA's. Dakota is ranked 11th in singles right behind her, and the duo together is ranked 11th nationally in doubles. So high expectations, going to be a lot of fun to see what they can do in the spring.
And in the spring is when they will resume their match, or rather their matches. They have 4 straight to open up that spring slate in the Bronx at the Stadium Tennis Center. So we'll definitely be, as we always are, on it as far as the coverage goes for that. So that about does it for the fall sports, or rather fall athletics in review. This was a fun one. I mean, obviously, like we said before, the success is one that we really, really enjoy covering, and not only makes our jobs easier and more fun, but I mean, we feel like we are really a part of it with you when you're able to just create some really cool memories. Because for you, you get to go, and this is me speaking to the student athlete, you get to go on these really cool trips to really cool cities. Like for me, I was talking to my barber before the Michigan trip, and I was like, I never thought I would have gone to East Lansing. And to tell the truth, I mean, shout out, but I probably wouldn't have ever gone there. Or you probably would have never gone to Holland, Michigan, the way you did with women's basketball last year. If it weren't for these work opportunities. So keep winning so that our senior staff can keep sending us to cool places.
Absolutely. It's a highlight of what we do, but not only to just bond with you all again, speaking to the student athletes, but that's a treat. Kyle and I, of course, speaking of media days, we've really tried to ramp up our presence there. We have a lot of fun. Those are really the highlights of the seasons for us. So again, bring the energy. We have a lot of fun doing that with you guys and covering everybody all year long. So shout out to the fall teams. It was a really fun fall season for the Violets.
Yeah, really fun. We're looking to have the same amount of fun for the winter and as for the spring as well. Have a lot more new uniforms on the way. I know that the fall sports really look good while they did it this past fall. Same thing with the winter and the spring again. That's the pilot episode in the books for the Silence Behind the Violets podcast, episode 1. You can find us at NYU Athletics across the board, NYU_athletics on TikTok, because sometimes people are just haters. They don't want to give up the username that they're not using. So anyways, that about does it for us. Again, I am Kyle. I am, I will be. I'm Kyle.
I'm Kai. Thank you for tuning in. It was a lot of fun.
All right, appreciate it. And we will talk to you next time.